On a Tuesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, got a very special guest joining me as we get to talk about the Hurricanes, the Four Nations, and we're going to do a little bit of Worlds Collide of wrestling and hockey. And if you're a Carolina Hurricanes fan, you've heard this guy do a lot of public address calls, even with your NC State Ice Pack. I'm so excited to have Wayne Minter on this edition of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin, the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hawk Riders. Also the co-host of the Searchcast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my dudes here at Locked On Hurricanes. But let's be honest, you're not here for me. You're here for my special guest, and we'll introduce him here in a second. As today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And like I said at the top, we got Carolina Hurricanes public address announcer, also the NC State Ice Pack announcer, also a goalie who's been there and done that, and has also done some calls in the wrestling world. I am super excited to have Wayne Minter joining me on Locked On Hurricanes. Wade, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Hey, thank you. I know you're a busy man doing a lot of stuff with the Hurricanes, Ice Pack, coding, all that stuff, all your other projects you got going. So I do appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. So
No,
great being able to talk to you.
No, it's good to be back. It's been a fun half of the season. It's I think a well-deserved break for everybody, myself included. Taking my wife on a long weekend coming up here in a couple days, and
nice.
There'll be time to kind of grind out the rest of the regular season.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with how January was, when you're fitting like 15 games in 30 days, and you're supposed to have 3 days off, but they decided to throw a reschedule in the middle of that. So there goes that break. So yeah, it's been definitely crazy for the Hurricanes and for you guys and everyone over there. Kind of not on the ice stuff, but a lot of behind the scenes or public addressing. But so for you, what has really stood out to you so far this season? I know there's been a little bit more of a back and forth. November, December, team got really came in hot in January. But what's been your overall take with the Hurricanes so far this season going into the break?
I'd say my take is that for what I think most people were thinking of as a bit of a transition season, a rebuilding, not even really a rebuild, but a transition season from kind of a core group of players who had taken you to the playoffs for 6 straight years. A lot of folks exited in the offseason. You brought in a bunch of new names. And I think the conventional wisdom was that this was going to be a little bit more of a down year for the Canes, which is where the very, very hot start, I think, surprised everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Scoring 4+ goals a game for quite a number of games and, just running off wins. And after that, you saw the team kind of settle back in. And so the question really is, what is the real team? Is it the team that was very hot at the beginning of the season, or is it the team that, kind of win 2, lose 1, win 3, lose 2, trying to figure it out? And, I don't think there's an answer to that yet. Clearly the team that was bodying everybody at the start of the season is in there somewhere.
Right.
So I think inconsistency and probably above average surprises have been the theme for this season.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because you look at the guys like Eric Robinson, Jack Roslovic. I mean, who can really say that these guys were going to go off? Or you're seeing career years from these guys where Roslovic is within a handful of just goals and points from hitting career highs. Eric Robinson's already tied his goal total already in 10 fewer games. So it's what would you say is probably, like you said, a lot of the newcomers that came in and kind of surprised a lot of people? Who's with all the new additions, who's really surprised you the most so far this season? Or not surprised, but you're kind of like, well, this is a great sneaky pickup that the Hurricanes definitely needed this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of what I expected coming into the season versus what I got, Eric Robinson's at the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
A guy who, bounced around a little bit, was on some bad Columbus teams. The type of signing where I think you expected, or at least I did, being perfectly honest, 13th forward or an AHL, NHL tweener. He has absolutely punched above his weight. He is consistent every night. He's brought something that the team needs. Roslovic is on that list as well because, a more well-regarded player, I think, coming in, but still, if you're looking at the exits of Teuvo Teravainen and Brett Pesce, Brady Shea, Steph Nason, and you're looking at replacing him with William Carrier, Sean Walker, Eric Robinson, Jack Roslovic, I watch a lot of hockey, and even I was coming into the season thinking, well, that's a downgrade in a lot of areas. Like you're in a lot of talent and replacing it with what appeared on the surface to not be as much. But that's why Eric Tulsky's the GM and I'm not, and Rod Brind'Amour's the coach and I'm not, because he's gotten a lot out of all of those signings, and Roslovic and Robinson especially have been ones who have, I think, been big surprises in a good way for Canes fans.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then you talk about Sean Walker and all that. I mean, you get Shane Gostisbehere comes back again for a second run at it, and it seems like he's almost kind of like not really lost a step, even with the first time he's been back. I know he got injured, and he's still trying to figure out with his coming back from injury. But the whole power play has been kind of struggling. But like, what does it say about the fact you get Shane Gostisbehere come in, and he's just kind of been like, yeah, we knew we're getting what we saw the first time, but now we get to see it longer than just 20 games and a playoff. Now we get 3 years of this guy. Yeah.
I think it's a really good thing for the organization that you have a guy like Shane Gostisbehere comes in here as a rental. Team doesn't reach its ultimate goal there that season, but he has a very good season. He plays himself into a higher paid contract, and good for him. Turns out it just wasn't quite the same fit in Detroit for him, and having the opportunity to get him back and him wanting to come back after that, brief stint there at the end of that season, I think is something that is a credit to the organization, because you got a guy like Shane Gostisbehere, he gets a taste of the organization. He's been around the league. He's been on some good teams, goes chasing the bigger contract, finds out that, it just wasn't the right fit.
Right.
And chooses to come back. So, I think that's a case where you're building something here where Raleigh was not a destination for a very long time.
Yeah.
You'd get the kind of the dregs of the free agent market who didn't really have anywhere else to go.
Right.
And now players are actively seeking out to come here. And I think Gostisbehere is a great example of that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because you're talking about, like I said, guys that maybe don't want to come here. You have to overpay for some players to come, and then it's kind of like, are they really here? Are they really enjoying it, or is it just it's more money? But now you guys, like you said, Shane Gostisbehere want to come back. Brent Burns waves a no trade clause to come here and stuff like that. So yeah, there's definitely a different tide when it comes to getting the acquisitions, to where you're not having to worry about, okay, will these guys sign here? It's like no guys want to, and then you look at all the contracts. You're extend, Jacob Slavin for a really team-friendly deal. It's going to look a lot better with the cap going up. Svechnikov, Aho, you get Jarvis under $7.5 million AAV, and I want to talk about him. Like, he's already on pace for another 30-goal season. He's like 20 points away from being 30th all-time in franchise history. And the fact that you're looking, he's like about 23 points off from career highs. And that's just not for points, but he's like across the board on pace for another career season. What is this about Seth Jarvis going from the fact that he breaks out of camp not knowing if he's going back to Portland or not for the Western Hockey League, and now he's not even 4 full seasons into his career, and he's on the team candidate for 4 nations, and he's on another career year, and now he's going to hit a milestone where you're talking top 30 all time in points already, and he's just turned 23.
Yeah, I mean, I think that first of all, he's an absolute delight. Like I wish more hockey players had or were able to show that level of personality.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's a fan favorite for a lot of reasons, and that's one of them. Clearly a very, very high skill player. And I think for me, one of the more impressive things about Jarvis is more and more the National Hockey League is becoming a big man's game. Whether it's from goaltenders or defense out to the forwards, taller, heavier is really the rule. And it's only, every draft year they get, bigger and stronger and heavier.
Yeah.
And he's a relatively small guy. He's listed at like 5'10" or 5'11", and I'm generous, I think.
Right.
And plays a lot of top line minutes. He's playing a lot of physical board battles. You wouldn't think he was as tough as he was, I think, looking at him. Like, because again, he's a smaller guy. He's, not necessarily the bulkiest, but he's got an ability to absorb punishment. He's got an ability to fight through. He can make any line he plays on better, which is why I think you've seen him moved around trying to spark some other folks.
Yeah.
And that contract is going to prove to be a gift for the ages, I think, as we look over the next few years.
Oh, yeah.
And realize, how long we got him for and for how much.
No, yeah, no, 100%. When you're looking at a contract that's going to be that friendly, where it's like, okay, this guy's making less than 7.5 for the next 8 seasons. And he's like not even hitting his prime yet. You'd be looking at a guy who could be on market 12, maybe plus more, and that's just the fact that the Hurricanes got him. He wants to be here. He's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll take a paycheck that's reasonable enough to where you can still build around the team. And building around the team, people are really excited for Mikko Rantanen. I do want to get your thoughts on him, but I think the underlying guy that's kind of been more of a sneakier move in terms of the trade that's really benefited a lot of guys, especially his line with, Robinson, Kakaniemi, is Taylor Hall. I want to get your thoughts on the two new guys that come in and just, obviously everyone's talking about Mikko, but what is about Taylor Hall, in your opinion, is kind of like, this was a great pickup for the Hurricanes that maybe has been overshadowed by the, bigger name part of the trade. All right, we'll be back with segment 2 with Wade Minter here in a second, so stick around as we'll dive more into everything that's going on with the Carolina Hurricanes in a second on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posting on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. All right, guys, welcome back to segment 2, and we're going to jump back into the conversation with Wade Minter right now.
Yeah, I think every really good team has got the veterans who have, kind of gotten the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. They understand how to get you through losing streaks. They understand how to keep winning streaks going. They've got perspective. Mm-hmm. In the 06 Cup year, that was Doug Waite and Mark Recchi. They came 100%. In halfway through the season, and they were guys who had been there and done it before, been around the league, and were able, I think, to provide that influence in the locker room of a younger team that's trying to get there for the first time. So I think for Taylor Hall, number 1 overall draft pick, has bounced around the league a lot.
Surprisingly enough for a first overall.
Right. And, that's unusual, I would say. Although, you've seen some folks like that who do it. Is, had a great season a few years ago, has been a little bit injury prone, has ended up on bad teams.
Yeah.
And I think that the biggest thing he's going to be able to bring on top of skill, because the man's obviously got skill. You're not a first overall pick if you don't. But I think he has seen so much in the league and has ridden that roller coaster that I would imagine, not that I'm in the room, right. I would imagine in the, kind of the flu losing streak that the team was on, where they were not looking very good, And I'm sure everyone seemed to be frustrated if you watch the broadcast. I would be very confident that a guy like Taylor Hall is like, look, this is not the worst thing that anyone's going to go through. Like, it does get better. Here's how it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully bring people down off the ledge if they're starting to doubt themselves. And I think, if there's nothing else, and hopefully he puts in a fair number of goals. I think if the team does well this year, you're going to look back and say he was the guy who brought perspective.
Right. Yeah, no, 100% for sure. And of course, Mikko Rantanen comes in, maybe he's not on the start that people thought of, but like you said, it's the flu, it's gone around. He did get hurt in the last game before the break. And I mean, it's not like he is not really putting up the effort. You're seeing the effort every night. It's just snake bitten like most of the team was during that losing streak. And plus, like, he's coming from an offense that's been all gas and no breaks in Colorado for a decade. Now you're coming to a structured two-way system like Rod Brind'Amour. And I mean, everyone has to hit that learning curve of doing that, especially when you're someone like Mikko Rantanen who's never done it before. And for me too, the rest of the guys have to get used to a guy like him as well, because I don't think they're used to having a top 10, top 5 guy in the league who's one of the elite power forwards who can do all the extra things that you're not used to and maybe those extra passes. What is it about Mikko that I think for you it's like, okay, pump the brakes. It's like it's not that serious. It's not even been 10 games with this guy. Yeah. But like, what makes you really excited for him coming onto this team like the Carolina Hurricanes, maybe bumping up the intensity level of his play?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing, and I think Corey Lavalette and Ryan Hinkle and other folks in the media have called this as well, so I'm certainly not the first one to do it.
Yeah.
But the Canes have never had an elite scorer. Mm-hmm. Never once. Eric Stahl during the Cup year, and kind of during his prime was the closest thing to it.
Right.
But, this is a top 3 goal scorer in the league and has been for years.
Yeah.
And, I think from the fans' perspective, there's a lot of frustration in the off seasons where, the conventional wisdom is the team needs more goal scoring. They need someone who's kind of a pure finisher, and they go out and get, a second pair defenseman, or they go out and get a third line center, right? Like,
yeah.
And, for a team that's on track to make its 7th straight playoff appearance, then, it's working to a larger degree, but the team as a whole has never really seemed like they're willing to swing for the fences on an elite player.
Right.
And first year of Eric Tulsky's management as the GM, and they did it. Yeah. So I think the move certainly surprised everyone in the league. And if that's a sign of kind of where they are thinking the team's going and how they're willing to spend money and how they're willing to view assets, I think it's going to be a change from kind of the Don Waddell administration, which took a good team and made it better.
Yeah.
With supportive ownership. But I think if this is going to be the mold, we'll find out over time, is this a one-off, just an opportunistic thing, or is it a different way of constructing the roster? I think it changes the conversation on what the Canes are and what they can be.
Right.
But yeah, I think, it's not been, and you're also comparing it against, a very, very skilled player in Marty Necas, who ended up going the other way. Yeah. Again, very popular player, flashes of brilliance, someone who could be an elite player in the league. And, he ended up going into a Colorado situation with a Colorado team that's not the best, but that top line is deadly.
Yeah.
And so Marty Necas has had a very good start to his Colorado career. He's playing a ton of minutes, like Rantanen was over there in that spot as well. Rantanen has, certainly had the chances, but hasn't really had the finish. And I think part of that is adjusting to, as you said, a more structured system where it's not like, well, we don't have anybody else on the team, so you top 3 go out there and just do everything for us.
Right.
Plus, having had the flu, it is hard to do anything when you're in that state, much less play at the highest level of professional hockey.
Yeah, totally agree. Been there, done that. No, having the flu, not fun.
Yeah, but to kind of bring that back around,
yeah,
it's it's interesting to me, and what do I know? Not much of anything. It's interesting to me how kind of the rest of the league views the Canes. Mm-hmm. And it's 8 games with Mikko Rantanen, or however many it's been. I don't know. I hadn't done the math. Yeah. And 1 goal, a lot of hit posts, and kind of close calls.
Yeah.
And the convention, and the scuttlebutt, the narrative, whatever you want to call it, is like, well, clearly the Canes are going to flip him at the deadline for a different player because they're clearly not going to be able to re-sign this guy.
Yeah, sure. That's definitely what they're going to do. Yeah, let's just go to Martin Nietzsche's and then just give it the same guy we just traded for.
And maybe it happens. Okay. I doubt it, but I don't know. I don't think they know either. But I think the Rantanen discussion dovetails into this perception that the Canes as an organization and Tom Dundon as an owner are cheap. And
that's another narrative that's so
right. And I don't understand that one or where it's coming from. Like, everyone can have opinions on different ownerships. That's fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but they're not entitled to their own facts.
Yeah.
And the fact is that Tom Dundon is an owner who does spend on players. We are a cap ceiling team every year. We are giving, yes, we somehow managed to kind of work some magic and give players like Jacob Slavin, Seth Jarvis at very team-friendly deals. That's a credit to us, not a detriment. Yes, they did not sign Jake Gensel, but, my strong guess would be that was not due to problems on the Canes' part. But it's very strange to me to see people who, clearly are in the hockey world. They clearly understand that we're one of 32 franchises out there, but clearly are operating under a completely different set of facts about the team, how the team moves, than is reality.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that it's weird, and I think it's frustrating for me. I have to keep my mouth shut a lot. But again, the story is out there, like the Canes are cheap, and regardless of however much evidence you can show somebody, and there's plenty of evidence to the contrary.
Oh yeah.
That's all you hear. So with Mikko Rantanen, I have a feeling he on the other side of the Four Nations break, when the team's healthy, when he's had some time to kind of adjust to being in a new city, I feel like he's going to get back to where he was with Colorado. I think he's going to become an elite goal scorer. I think they're going to find a line that complements him and he fits on. And I think with the cap going up and ownership's willingness to spend to and above the cap, they will find a way to sign him. So that's my prediction for the second, the post-break world.
Yeah, no, definitely 100%. So moving on to Four Nations, I do want to get your thoughts on this. And, we got now 4 guys going instead of 3. We got Seth Jarvis, Sebastian Aho, Jacob Slavin, and Mikko Rantanen. They didn't know if Mikko was going to play. Sounds like he might be. For the 4 guys that are going, I mean, obviously we know what Mikko Rantanen can bring, coming over to the Canes and going to, playing for Team Finland. But the original 3 that were picked, and Aho, Jarvis, and Slavin, who do you think is going to have a bigger impact for their team going into the Four Nations tournament out of the original 3 that were picked for Carolina?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because part of it is I don't know what type of game we're going to see. Mm-hmm. It is, for all intents and purposes, a glorified all-star exhibition. And in all-star games and exhibitions, no one wants to get hurt. They don't try that hard. It's kind of out there for the funsies. So in a world where they played hard and they treated it like a normal game, which I don't know if they're going to, I think Jacob Slavin has the biggest impact. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of firepower there on every team. And Jacob Slavin is one of the best defensemen to play the game.
Yeah.
He's paired with Adam Fox. What could have been.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that the U.S. having that as your top pairing defense is the type of thing that could turn a game. Yeah. Especially in a short tournament, round robin style. So I think in a world where it was very competitive, hockey, he ends up having the biggest impact.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah.
I think that in a exhibition style where it's more closer to an all-star game, like, yeah, they're trying, but the scores are 12-10 instead of 3-2, right?
Yeah.
Assuming he's healthy, like he appears to be, and assuming that he is getting playing time, which, according to the first practice, he appears to be. I think you got Seth Jarvis as the most impactful player. He is creative. He is tenacious. He's fun. He can play with anybody. And especially this season, he's just got a knack for finding the net.
Yeah.
So I think I think Team Canada with Seth Jarvis getting minutes, he's going to have, in that type of game, he's going to have the biggest impact. This is no disrespect to Sebastian Aho. I feel like the way Finland is constructed, he's not going to have as much of a chance to stand out. Alternate captain, again, a exceptional player. I just don't know if the Finland style is necessarily going to allow him to shine in the same way that the U.S. and Canada styles could do for the other guys.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's very interesting how they're going to work that out because, like you said, and I think with Team USA being more of the stacked roster, with you look at goaltending, Canada is kind of a little short there, I believe. What you're really going to get with Team Sweden, Finland. You can make some arguments, but I feel like the USA is a little bit more of a deeper team in their goalie trio. I mean, when you talk about Andre and Hellebuck alone, that's going to cause a lot of problems. So I guess my question is, who do you think has the better chance of, I guess, winning? I'm gonna put that in the air quotes because, like you said, what type of way you really going to get here? Is it going to be like the old school, Campbell and Wales type of, high intensity, or is this going to be what we've seen for the last decade, where it's just welcome to glorified pond hockey? So, I guess depending on what type of playing system we're going to get, who do you think has probably the more legitimate shot of taking this whole four nations out of the?
Yeah, I think in either style, Team USA is probably the favorite. I think that top to bottom, they are constructed to win either style of game. I think the goaltending is going to be underrated, regardless of how hard the goaltenders have to try.
Yeah.
And I think all the three other teams have exceptional players on there, but I feel like Canada, as you said, a little weaker in the goaltending area. I think that they are trending older, which, again, if you're not playing that hard, maybe the older guys, look better. But I feel like kind of looking at the four teams, top to bottom, the U.S. roster strikes me as the most dangerous.
All right, guys, stick around as we'll do segment 3 with the rest of the show with Wade Minter. So stick around as we'll do that here in a second on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on the fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. If you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. All right, guys, here is the rest of the episode with Wade Minter. Because you're talking about Matthews and you got the Kachucks there, and you look at the defense too with Slavin and Fox. You got McAvoy there. Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting for sure. I want to ask you this. So, everyone looks at jerseys. They're like, okay, which one's the coolest? Which one has the better details? Stylistically, stylistically, aesthetically, and all that good stuff. I want to get your opinion on your favorite and your least favorite. I'm not saying the worst, but like if you had to categorize a 1A to 1D, or maybe it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. What's your number one? And you're like, it's okay, but wouldn't be my first choice. Let's see if I want to go get one, or anyone wants to go get one in general.
I have possibly the worst design eye of anyone walking the planet right now. My wife and kids are very, very good at that. I am very, very not good at that. So I'm very much like, oh, look at that. That's awesome. And they're like, it is not awesome, Dad.
It's like, I don't know about
that. So given that disclaimer,
mm-hmm.
I think of the jerseys, I like Canada the best. They're all very clean, which I enjoy.
Oh yeah.
I think Canada's got a nice combination of kind of color logo and kind of the nation being represented. So I would go with that as my one.
Okay.
I think my second one would be Finland, just because I'm a sucker for national team jerseys that don't use the English American version of the country name. So having Suomi up there is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a toss up between USA and Sweden in terms of what's the next one.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll go with Sweden. The USA jerseys are just a little too bland. I think they could have done something more with it. I don't. There have been some very over the top Team USA jerseys, which I also didn't enjoy. But it's clean. It's okay, but I feel like there was more that could happen there.
No, I totally agree. I do like the fact you have the Latin inside the silver piping of the USA jersey. But I agree with you. I think it's like a USA across the front and it's all blue with a little bit of red.
Right.
Like if they did because if you've noticed like the World Junior teams, all of the USA ones are always super nice. Like USA, not that you have to go USA diagonal, but like you can make it a way where it's like you're almost kind of tapping into the World Junior USA jerseys that are really nice, really clean. And I feel like with the men's, with this tournament coming up, it's kind of like it just says USA across the front. I'm not really sold on it. Like you said, with Finland, you got the really nice white. I think the way the numbers are, the font's really nice. How it's like almost dual tone and stuff like that. I do like Canada because of the crest and they're like piping down in the middle of the jersey, coming horizontal. It fits really nicely. Sweden, I mean, let's be honest, it's the old school yellow with the blue crowns on the front. And I do like the fact that if you look at the sleeve, it even turns into the Sweden flag too. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of, creativity with these jerseys. I like how you have like the minute details of like, okay, there's some hidden Easter eggs here. But yeah, for me, I think it's kind of like it's more of the like Finland, Sweden than it's Canada, US, just because it's like at least with Finland, Sweden, you're kind of getting that, hey, this is who we are. This is our European style. You know who we are because it's that iconic. Canada, you get the leaf that's a little bit different than the one they had for the Hockey World Cup, where it was like that weird half leaf that was, So I agree with you. It's kind of like USA. They're nice, but a little more creativity would have been there for us, but what can you do?
I don't think I'm going to rush out and buy any of them. Because there's nothing revolutionary there, and I'm not real sure what we're going to get out of the tournament. So I applaud the NHL for switching some things up, especially in a year where they're not going to the Olympics. I just don't. It's not moving me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. So last thing, we could talk about before I let you go, Wade, because I know I really want to get your ideas on this, because for those who don't know, Wade has called and probably still does. I'm not sure with wrestling, and I think that's because I know you told me your story a while back on the Surgecast, where it's like that's kind of where you got your bigger start with PA announcing and stuff like that, which kind of led you into the Hurricanes and stuff like that too. I want to get your thoughts on how you view some Hurricanes players and what could be like in a world where wrestling meets hockey and looking at the Hurricanes roster. And I want to get your opinion on some of like who would hold certain titles, who would be a good tag team, who would be the good heel face and stuff like that. So let's start like a little bit lower and move our way up to like, okay, who would be the world champion? So let's start with who would probably be the best heel on the Carolina Hurricanes.
Best heel on the Hurricanes. I think if you're looking at it, I think I'd go with Brent Burns.
Ooh, okay.
Because I think that he has enough personality that he could pull off being a bad guy. He's kind of scary looking, right? Like I think you play that up. The guy can talk, which a heel's got to be able to talk. And I think you could see him as a mega heel if he turns on Jacob Slavin. Like I think you could see something like that. I think the promos would be great. Big imposing guy. And I think he would have fun being the bad guy.
Oh, yeah, because you don't know what's in his backpack. Like he could be pulling out a whole bunch of stuff. Like it could be like a Mary Poppins bag where he pulls out kendo sticks and like, hey, how did that fit in there? It's Burns' bag. Like you wouldn't be surprised. So we know who the heel is, but who would the face be? Who would be that guy?
I think if you're looking at kind of your traditional baby face, like the fine, upstanding, I play by the rules, I want to win the right way. You're looking at the captain. That's Jordan Stahl is going to be your baby face of baby faces. He's going to be the Ricky Steamboat. He's never going to work heel. He's going to be the All-American boy, even though he's not American.
The good old Canadian guy.
Right. And, I think he can pull off the, I'm fighting for the right things. I'm going to do things the right way. I'm not going to cheat because that's not who I am. And I think you could have the title on him for a while and people would buy it.
Oh yeah. No, 100% for sure. So who would you say, you mentioned promos with Brent Burns, but who would you think would probably have the best promos? Maybe not heel, maybe not babyface, but like who would just have the odd, like who's that CM Punk type guy where it's like you get him on a mic and it's going to be electric every time, or like your Stone Colds or your Rocks or guys like that who can just like go out there and be like, all right, wax poetic for 15-20 minutes to get the crowd just absolutely going.
It's a toss up. I've got two in mind.
Okay.
And I don't know who would be kind of the higher level. But the two I've got in mind are Jordan Martinook and Seth Jarvis.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think they would bring different things to promos. Martinook is, all gas, no brakes, high energy. You could see him as someone who is just so frenetic on the mic that people are brought along with him. I think he can talk. I think he's, got some things to say. And I think you could see him as, a guy who can come in, give you a minute of pure energy on the mic and then run to the ring and start wailing on people. So I think you would get that out of a Jordan Martinook promo. I think Seth Jarvis gets you something that is a little more akin to what a modern wrestling promo looks like, though, because he is just a Gen Z chaos monkey, the things that fall out of his head. And I think he would accidentally stumble on probably about 5 catchphrases that the audience is going to chant along. I think he would drop references that the smart audience would get and the marks would not know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And I could see him just being able to tailor a promo that's different for everybody to whoever he happens to be facing.
No, 100%. Yeah, I mean, those are probably the best two guys you can even think of for doing promos. So last couple before we wrap up and let you go, who would be the best tag team on the roster? Who would be that 1-2 punch that these guys are just going to be dialed in automatic every single night? It could be any night they're having to go defend a title or just be just coming out there and just causing chaos as the best tag team.
I think you could go with a classic European tag team, who can work baby, they can work heel, depending on what part of their personalities they're showing up. They would be technicians in the ring. I think that you would find them as folks who could work pretty much any style and make their opponents look good. I think they'd be crisp and clean. I think a tag team of Sebastian Aho and Jesperi Kotkaniemi could carry the promotion.
Okay. No,
likable guys. They've got that, coming from Finland, they've got that air of mystique, they're Europeans. They could work a different style than everybody else because they're not from here. I think if you turned them heel, they could absolutely work the, we are from the happiest country, you Americans are not, kind of the snooty, we're superior European angle. I think you could get them with some tag team moves. They both can move. I think that would be a really good tag team.
Oh no, 100%. And who would be the main title, main card, WrestleMania headliner, world champion of just Hurricanes wrestling world?
I think if you're looking for someone who hasn't been mentioned off of the roster yet, I feel like you would be able to get a really good main event, especially if he was built up correctly, out of Jalen Chatfield.
Ooh, okay.
I think you could see him walking out impeccably dressed, the hair down, title over the shoulder. I think that, he would have the ability to command a room. I think when he got in the ring, again, he is the type of guy who, has got the stamina to go 60 minutes with a challenger. I bet he's got better promos than you think he is, but I think he could be someone who could, with only a few words, carry a room. So I think, we've kind of put a lot of other people in a lot of different spots here.
Yeah.
But I think the contender for a guy you could build a program around, especially if you put him with the right people, would be Jalen Chatfield.
No, I mean, yeah, that's in. Take him to Chapman. There's so many ways you can just call finishing moves and stuff like that. So now, last one. You're on the mic. Obviously, you're going to be you're the guy. You're the dude. You're the Cole of, hey, I'm going to announce and do all this other stuff. But who is your Pat McAfee? Who's your number two guy besides you getting the crowd going and stuff like that? Who's that guy besides you calling these matches?
Wow, that is a tough one. I think my Pat McAfee, if I am calling a big event, is going to be the same guy who's the Pat McAfee on the broadcast. I'm going Trip Tracy.
Yeah.
Because in this world, Trip Tracy, as opposed to someone who played the sport of hockey, has been a former wrestler. I think that he is unhinged. I think, smart. He'll say things that get a reaction out of the crowd, get a reaction out of me. He'll be able to kind of take the commentary in different directions, and it would certainly not be a stale and boring product. That's for sure.
No, 100%. Yeah, I mean, couldn't ask for. That's a guy that you're tap him for the number two, and of course you're gonna have Shane and Hannah kind of doing behind the scenes interviews, or doing you got Mike Maniscalco doing the ring announcements, here's your contender, here's your champion, stuff like that. That would be, hey,
I bet Maniscalco would be a great ring announcer.
Oh,
100%. I think he would be exceptional.
Oh, 100%. Hey, you know what? Maybe we just need to call Tom Dunn one day. Hey, let's just do a fun little welcome to the world of Hurricanes wrestling, the Hurricanes Wrestling Federation. Let's just see how that would play out in some skits and stuff like that. But I think it would be highly electric. But Wade, thank you so much. This was just a lot of fun talking to you. I can't believe we've already gone over 40 minutes already. That's how just amazing this conversation has been, just flowing so well. But before I let you go, where can people find you on Blue Sky? Because we're not going to mention the other platform, because I know you got your thing with that. And, just anything else you want to promote, the floor is yours, sir.
No, I mean, I'm always out there trying to have some fun and, kind of be a whole person. I'm doing stuff on TikTok for now. I'm doing stuff on Blue Sky, for work related things. You can find me on LinkedIn. And, I know that for folks who are around during the Twitter era, for those years that I was doing the game sheets, the mentor mail, I know folks have missed that. I do a little bit of that on Blue Sky, but honestly, where that happens these days is, so I'm not sure if everybody knows this. Every once in a while I'll say it and people are surprised by it. But at the north end of Lenovo Center by the loading dock, after games, there is, I call it the autograph pen, right? There's my camera, autograph pen. Fans will line up, players as they're driving out, occasionally, not always, stop. They'll sign autographs from their cars, but it's a really fun place, I think, where people hang out after games with fellow Canes fans, and they're looking to get a glimpse of players and stuff like that. It's generally a very chill scene. that's near where I park for games. So normally, over the last couple years since I left Twitter, I'll hand out the game sheets there. So I get a chance to hang out, talk to fans, kind of recap games, take pictures, sign autographs, kiss babies, the whole 9 yards there. And so, if people do want to say hi, that's a great place to do it.
No, awesome. Yeah, I definitely know where you're at because I kind of park towards where the media area is at, so I totally know what you mean. Yeah, so if you are in that area, guys, after games, keep an eye out for Wade Minter. You might just get some sheets for
That's
sure.
True.
Yeah, but Wade, thank you so much. This is always fun talking. I had a lot of fun talking, stand-up Hurricanes, Four Nations, get a little bit of wrestling in there because, why not? I mean, you kind of have to, tie in a little bit of fun and all that good stuff. But, guys, that will wrap up a Tuesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen today. For your second listen, well, check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at OneTrueZach on Twitter/X. Also on Blue Sky, the Zachary Martin. Podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I do have link trees in my bios where you can check out all my writing at the Hockey Writers or HockeyWriters.com. AHL content, theColorTimes.com. Also, check out my other podcasts, The Surgecast, all podcast platforms, and on YouTube. For this show, Locked On Hurricanes on Google, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio. Subscribe, follow, leave a 5-star rating review. Might just read on the show. For the podcast, Locked On Hurricanes, subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss a show. Thumbs up to let me know if you like the show as well. Share with other Keniacs to become everydayers just like you. Hope everyone enjoyed the Tuesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Hope everyone enjoys their Tuesday. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.